Happy Monday, everyone. This is the FloTrack podcast. I am Kevin. He is Gordon. FloTrack podcast at gmail.com is our email address. You can subscribe to our YouTube page as well. Our show today is sponsored by Hoka. You can see the Hoka CLO-X right next to me. That is the LD. Gordon has the CLO-MD. Remember, Hoka, powered by the propulsion of carbon. Gordon just giving a great shot for those of you watching live on YouTube. You show them the carbon plate in there, the light as a feather spikes here that are making people fly all around the track. Hoka.com is the website. And Gordon, before we go any further, you have an update on the picks. We did the predictions for the first time for Tokyo. How did it go? What was the reception? And what can people look forward to next from what do we call it? FloTrack Pick'em? Is that right?
Yeah, FloTrack Pick'em, new segment
Okay.
that we're going to do all the time now. We're going to lean heavy into it. It's going to be great. We had 3 picks that went up for the Saturday evening Tokyo Marathon. Kipchoge's time, will Sarah Hall break the American record, and how many Japanese men will finish in the top 10. You had to pick all 3. You had to go 3 for 3. I successfully went 3 for 3. You did not. He did run sub 205, obviously. Sarah Hall did not break the American record, and 4 men ran in the top 10 that were from Japan. So I'm 1-0 right now. I'm perfect in the lifetime of the FloTrack Pick'em. But there's going to be more opportunities. We're going to have a lot more opportunities. We're going to throw out some picks for NCAAs, which we'll announce on Wednesday's pod. We'll do it again also next week for Worlds. And then we're also going to just keep going. We're going to keep throwing out these picks every podcast, like predicting what an athlete's end of the year PB is going to be. It's going to be a variety of things. It's going to be great. And we're going to keep track of it all. And the more you win, the more you correctly pick, the more likely you are to get some good prizes. So I'm excited.
There we go. All right, let's get into the show. Tokyo Marathon, we had a live show. So if you want Tokyo Marathon analysis of Kipchoge, of Brigid Kosgei, Sarah Hall, you can find that archived 2-hour and 42-minute epic. Or just you can find the clips too, let's be honest. You can find the shorter clips of us recapping it after. You don't need us giving you 17-mile analysis now that you know the results. I mean, I'd be flattered if you did, but you don't need to do that. We want to start today, though. There was some American record last night in the 10,000 from Grant Fisher. Another just insanely quick race across the boards, men's and women's, at the 10 in Southern California. Fisher goes 26:33, Gordon. Betters Galen Rupp's record by a whole bunch. Mohamed breaks his own Canadian record, running 26:34. It's been quite a last few weeks for Mr. Fisher with the indoor 5,000 American record, and now an even bigger accomplishment outdoors in the 10,000. 26:33. Did you think that was in the cards?
I mean, in hindsight, yes. Before the race, no. But after the race, you're kind of like, okay, actually, this kind of makes sense. You just did run 12:53 like 2 weeks ago on an indoor track. Clearly, he has the best setup possible for him to go after these records with multiple teammates rabbiting. They had the wave light technology on the track, so they had lights on the track. They moved the event from Saturday to Sunday because of wind, so he had the weather on his side. Everything was set up for him to have no excuse. You don't like to not have it. You're like, it wasn't a good day, or just the pacing was off. He had all the reasons to run well, and because of his talent, it worked out. And I do think we're in a different time, right, of track and field. It's kind of wild to see someone like Galen Rupp's record get broken in a span of 3 weeks in both indoor 5K and outdoor 10K. I saw someone post, Galen Rupp only now has 2 American records left. They're both indoor, an indoor 3K and an indoor 2-mile, which is just wild to show how quickly one of the greatest of all time in the U.S. is now not number one in most of the record books. But Fisher this is what we thought his career was going to become. Coming out of high school, his first few years at Stanford, you're like, this guy can be the next guy. And Fisher now is living in it. He's in the prime of his prime. And this makes sense. He is one of the greatest U.S. distance runners we've seen, and he's been training well. He's had a great, 5 to 10 years of steady progression. And now that he's at Bowerman, he's all firing on all full cylinders. And now I think he's shown that he has a talent to run these incredible times. The next thing on Fisher's list now, though, is to start trying to collect some medals, because that's one thing that Galen Rupp was able to do. Is it's one thing to do well at time trials; it's another to be able to close in the final lap of a world's 5K or a world's 10K and finish in the top three. Something that Chalimo has been doing, something that obviously Centro has done in the 15. And Fisher, I guess, now's the time. Like Fisher, this year and next year are going to be his two best chances, I think, of medaling, and it'll be interesting to see if he's able to pull it off.
I believe he closed in 13:10. Is that right? His first 5K was they were like 13:23. I believe they were
Yeah,
just a little slow at halfway, but you figured with that group together that they were going to be able to pull it off. Okay, so 13:10 trivia question, Gordon. When is the first year Grant Fisher broke 13:10 in a 5K?
last year.
Correct. 2021. Prior to 2021, Grant Fisher's
That's
PB
wild.
13:11 from 2020, and then before that 13:29 in 2019. Now, he was a guy who focused on racing in college, so it's not that surprising. Like his PBs never matched his true potential.
Ability.
I felt like
Yeah.
in college, yeah. Um, but it is just incredible to think about. Even in his couple years with post collegiate with Bowerman, he hadn't run that fast until last year, and still just a long way from indicating 26:33. I mean, you say you're not surprised, but how many of those high school stars, have exemplary careers? It's still rare to do it. You go back and you look, okay, well, what are the prerequisites to be someone who runs 26:33? Part of it is you got to start with that amazing level of talent, and you can't overdo it early on. You got to have that steady build, and you have to just be able to adapt to that training once you get into that pro group and take advantage of all those opportunities. And he checks all those boxes. It feels like in all these Bowerman time trials, it's just somebody always is ready to roll. And I mean, that makes sense. That's why they do them. Well, like on the women's side, like Cranny, she did all out of that solo. Fisher had a med in the same way that a couple years ago, remember Houlihan and Schweizer together when they ran that 5K. It's like it's one thing to have a rabbit that takes you a good long duration of the race. It's another thing to have like someone else in there just pushing you that you can race all the way to the line and try to beat them. And in addition to just having this supporting cast around him that's basically unparalleled, having someone like Ahmed to race him all the way to the line is hugely beneficial as well too.
And like, it's going to be interesting. Like, he did beat Mohamed in this race, and
Yeah,
Mohamed
yeah, that's I was
is a
gonna mention that.
medalist. So,
Yeah,
like, you have to think about this. Obviously, you can be like, it's just a time trial. He had everything perfect. Everything was just set up for him. Like, I don't think Mohamed was there to just let Grant Fisher win. And the fact that Fisher, at a hot pace, was able to hold off Ahmed because they were together basically the entire
yeah.
time is a sign that maybe Grant Fisher is prepared to be in it and finish in the top three at World Champs. But we don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, it's natural for our attention to go to the national records and the fast times, but I thought the same thing too. I said, well, this is two races in a row. He's beaten Ahmed. Now the races at the World Championships, Olympics will look a little bit different, but you're right. That's a medalist there. That's a guy who's no doubt one of the best in the world, a proven talent, and who ran an amazing race himself. I mean, he ran 26:34 and got beat. I don't think. I mean, that's just incredible. How good this race was. And if you told me at the beginning of the year, Mohamed is going to run 26:34, that would not have surprised me. You know, he's run under 12:50 outdoors in these time trial settings. Like that would not have surprised me because he was a 12:40 guy versus Fisher, who prior to the year was north of 13 minutes. Just a huge gulf there. But Fisher's closed that gap, and you're right. This is his time. This is his time right now. What was that? 58 on the close, which is pretty solid. Obviously, off that pace, to be able to close with 58. It'll look a little bit different at World Champs, no doubt. But I mean, how many people do you for sure have ahead of Fisher right now in the 10,000? You'd probably say Cheptegei because world record holder. Borrego won the Olympics. Kiplimo's run about the same time as him. But it's not a long list at all.
So Fisher starts the year 2022. He has the American. He runs 12:53 indoors, breaks the American record indoors. And a few weeks later, goes outdoors, runs a 10K in
Mm,
26:33, breaks that American record, and it's now March 7th. Worlds is in July. USA's is in
yeah,
June.
yeah, yeah.
What is he going to be doing? Like, what's he going to focus on? Like, is he going to be just going and hopping in local 1500s to like work on some speed? But like,
Yeah.
when are we going to be able to, like, are we done with experiencing now like incredible Grant Fisher performances until basically Worlds? Because what is he going to do? He has nothing to prove anymore.
I
His
don't
like
know.
season is basically complete. The only thing left in the season now is making a team and medaling at Worlds. So
He
like he kind of has a
yeah.
long time of kind of like maybe doing nothing.
He ran outdoor times during indoors and ran outdoor races during out indoors too. It's very strange. I have no idea what the playbook is going forward. Do you think he regrets not going to USA indoors now?
No, I mean clearly he knew this was in the cards, and I'm sure he's happy with this performance. But like, I guess he needs to maybe set himself up and go hop in a couple Diamond League 5Ks. That's probably the next step to kind of get your feet
Yeah.
wet with like bumping and shoving around with some of the top,
Right.
East Africans and try to challenge Paul Chalimo in a 5K to get his feet wet. I guess that's because, yeah, you kind of like, I've done everything except for, now I just have to wait. Now he just has to
You
wait
have to
till
wait. He's
USA's,
got to
which is so
qualify
far
too.
away.
He's not even on the team. He's not on the team.
I know, but like he has this, everyone is like, oh, we got to get the standard. And then once we have the
Yeah.
standard, but he's done that all. It's all done. He got the standard. He has the PBs.
Yeah.
It's like, we just got to wait till end of, like, I feel like we're not going to see an impressive Fisher race until end of May at the Prefontaine Classic, where he's trying to qualify for USA's. And even then, it's probably going to be a sit
Right.
and kick. So it'll be like an impressive last
Yeah.
mile where he runs like sub 4 in the final mile.
This was a pre-classic type race. This is when we were used to see, or Peyton Jordan.
Yeah.
This is like when we're used to seeing those races. The difference is it happened 2.5 months earlier than it normally does, and I wanted the same thing because you could say the same about Cranny, right? Amazing 5,000. This 10,000 that she ran was sensational too because she has to lead most of it. Just misses Molly Huddle's uh, American record. I mean, she runs 30:14. Gordon, she won by 46 seconds in this race. So, like, what does she do now? That's what I mean. Like Fisher, Stanford grad too, having an amazing breakout season, was obviously solid last year, but has gone like a complete level up. Like, what does she do? She's obviously a huge favorite to make the team, and you look at those times and you think, okay, this is a person who can contend for medals. Like, what are their next moves?
Yeah. Well, one thing for Cranny is she did come up 1 second short of Molly Huddle's American record. And it was a little bit controversial because she beat the pacing lights,
Yeah,
but then she
saw
came up
that.
short with the record. And you kind of be like, the lights were giving her a false sense of security that you're going to get this record. and she turns up to
Yeah.
be a little over a second short. Um, so Cranley's kind of in a little bit of a pickle because she ran an incredible PB. She
Yeah.
knows she probably has another second in her, but to put out it's gonna to go all in on another 10K record. She may have to wait a whole another year before she goes hard on another 10K, or hope that Worlds isn't extremely
I
fast and just she gets pulled along.
I think it might be that because remember Huddle's record came from the Olympics in a insanely quick race. I think that might
Yeah,
be where it falls. Now you go into that though not knowing. You go into that with the idea of hey, this could be a 32-minute race or this could be something historically quick. But yeah, what she was behind, so she outkicked the lights, but the lights I guess just got demoralized and said, "Well, I'm not going to run that pace anymore. I'm done." She needed a Mohamed, right? She needed a another person there
yeah,
with her pulling her along because you see that margin of victory in a 10,000. You're like, all right, obviously there was a second left there for for her to get. But if you just look at where she was, even last year, or even 2 years ago, I mean the growth that she's experienced is incredible to put down these sorts of times and that indoor Boston 5,000 combo with the outdoor 10K, whatever why whatever the reason was why Bowerman picked that order to do that, it worked. I mean, these two races went perfectly for them.
yeah. It did work, and I mean, no one was doubting it wouldn't work, right? The criticism
Mhm.
wasn't like, "Oh, you're making a mistake."
Yeah.
Everyone just the criticism is basically the structure of our sport. It incentivized Fisher and Cranny to care more about setting themselves up for a
Mhm.
good outdoor season as opposed to flying across the country to run a indoor 3K for a global medal that won't count as the same as an outdoor global medal.
Mhm.
So that's
Yeah.
that's why they're not at indoors. But
Well,
we got, and it wasn't just Cranny and Fisher who had incredible
yeah.
10Ks here. Like you look down the list, Dom Scott got second in the 10K, ran well, 31 flat. I will like to say Sarah Lancaster, Austin, Texas native. She runs 31:21. She just picked up elite running like a year ago, or like less, maybe a year and a half, 2 years now. I don't know. But now she's running 31:21. It's incredible. Like to see the people that she's surrounded by, like full time professional athletes. And she's just like, oh,
Mhm.
yeah, I was a tennis player, basketball player. And now I'm an elite runner running 31:20s. It's just incredible. And then on the men's side, um, there was obviously we talked about Mohamed. Uh, Jack Rayner ran
Jack
well,
Rayner, Aussie record.
broke Patrick Kiernan's record, which is impressive. Um,
Mhm.
and then even like Connor Mance got the standard.
Mhm.
That's a good sign. Because you're like, all
Yeah.
right, that's the whole purpose of coming here is you want to get the standard. Shadrack got the standard as well. Sean McGordy is doing a 10K. I'm not. Is Sean still thinking steeple? I don't know. Maybe we'll see.
That's a good question.
Um,
Yeah.
And then I was kind of bummed that Evan Jaeger DNF'd. He was supposed This was
Yeah.
his 10K debut. He was a DNF. That was kind of like, oh, what could have been, but it is
Did
what
you
it
know
is.
that
And then
Woody Kincaid was
Kirabella
pacing?
Rasa DNF. Oh, did I know Woody Kincaid was pacing? I did not know
Because for a
that.
while there, I thought, are we going to have three people like sub 2640 in this race? And then he stepped off and was like, all right, well, that also shows you how good they are, just that their level of depth of Bowerman. But
Yeah.
all right, let's move on.
I would say I was surprised that Kirabella Rasa DNF'd. He's coming off of that really fast half at Houston. I thought he would put
Yeah.
together a good 10K here, but it wasn't in the cards. I mean, it's probably hard to like you go in this race and all of a sudden the leaders are going 26:30 pace. You're like, hold, okay, whoa, whoa, whoa. It can kind of maybe throw you off your rhythm. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah. You want to talk
Let's
about
talk some
some sprint action though?
sprints.
Let's get
Yeah.
back to
Yeah.
the
Let's talk about,
sprints. Enough of this
let's
distance
get
stuff.
back to, you want to start indoors or outdoors, Gordon?
Let's go outdoors and then back to indoors.
Outdoors. Yeah. Fred Curley opened up. 44, 47 in a 400 in Granada. So versatile sprint guy himself, Fred Curley, choosing to open with a quarter, which I don't know if this tells us anything about what event he's going to do this year because last year he ran quarters as well too. But to open with 44 mid is pretty good, and the fact that we're seeing Curley put down these times just, I mean, it just means his options continue to be open, right? Whatever he chooses, 1, 2, 4, or some combination of it, he has a lot of paths that he can take.
Yeah, he ran this in Grenada because it says the Karani James Stadiums and signages in the
Hmm.
background. Yeah, I mean, I would if someone who is, you know, coming off of not focusing on the 400, who's focusing on the 1 and the 2, and clearly who's
Hmm.
incredible in it. I would think his 400 opener would be more because of again he's already a world class athlete, so I thought it would be more of a 45-second mark. Like I thought it would be more of a go out there, get your feet wet, show that you're healthy, show that you're fit, show that you're in shape. And he runs 45 mid low. But 44 mid, that is that is incredible
Hmm.
for this point in the season and for him basically not being a 400-meter runner for an entire year and then he just gets back into it and now he's running 44.4. Like
Hmm.
that mark would be if like Michael Cherry ran that mark, we would be like, oh, Michael Cherry's ready to go. He's eyeing that gold medal. He's coming off of a strong outdoor 400-meter season, and now he starts the season
Yeah.
with a 44.4. Watch out for Michael Cherry. Even Michael Cherry tweeted. There was a funny tweet by Michael Cherry. Do you have that, Travis? I'm gonna put that up. Oh no, it wasn't Michael Cherry. It was Vernon Norwood. Vernon Norwood was like, "Yo, Fred, leave that 400-meter alone, bro. We get it." Because Fred is basically showing he can do anything. He
Yeah.
is literally the decathlete of sprints. He can do 100. He can do a 200, a 400, 4x1, 4x4. He probably would have ran like 6.5 and a 60, I feel like, even with his body, because he's just been incredible.
Yeah.
And what I'm hoping, I don't know what this means, but what I'm hoping is there might be some way to get Fred Curley doing some weird 1-4 double, a 2-4
Hmm.
double. He's probably more impressive with the 1-4 double, but like maybe it's I win world title in the 100 and then I come back and win the Diamond League 400. I just want him to
Yeah.
have two, or he wins the USA 400 and then goes on to win, then scratches the event at Worlds and wins the 100 at Worlds, or just do something weird and incredible. That's what I want from Fred
Just
Curley. Yeah. So
You just want to see some scratching. I like it. It's hard to figure out what this means within the context of his career because he didn't run indoors this year, and so many other years he ran indoors. So the opener outdoors is obviously different when you have an indoor season versus when you don't. But if you look at, let's just take last year, for example, he ran one indoors, 45.0, and then his outdoor 400 opener didn't come until the end of May, 44.6. This is obviously the beginning of March, so it's totally different. Or you go to 2019 when he was still all in on the 400, all he ran was 400s. His opener was 44.8, but that was mid-May. Um, with the championships being earlier this year, I expect to see more of this. I expect to see March and April be really quick because I don't think people are going to leave it too late because you got to be ready to roll at USA's obviously, but then there's really not much of a break between USA's and the World Championships in Eugene. So the people who didn't run indoors, I think we're going to see some big marks in March and April.
that's a good point. Yeah.
Um, well, because they wait. Like in 19, people just like waited and waited and waited. It was like waiting for Mondo to enter a pole vault competition. It's like, all right, when are you gonna open your season? And you understood why, because especially if you really were confident that you were gonna make the team. So you go, you make the team, and then it's 6 weeks between when you make the team and when the World Championships start in the end of September. Um, the other race I want to talk about, women's 60s, going to be pretty interesting at World Indoors. Um, because Ava Svoboda broke 7 seconds. She's the favorite. She's the favorite. If you're just now tuning in to the women's sprint season, Ava Svoboda of Poland is the favorite. Beat Elaine Thompson Hurrah. She ran 7 flat this year, but at the Polish Championships, she goes 6.99. So she joins the sub 7 club, which is a very elite group. She's the 10th woman in history to do that. Um, Short term, again, think she's the favorite. You know, you put her in there with Kambunji, Mary Beth St. Price, Micaiah Briscoe, Brianna Williams, but she is the favorite. Long term, we always talk about, okay, 60 success doesn't guarantee outdoor success. But you get to a point where if you run fast enough in the 60 indoors, Gordon, mathematically, you have to be fast outdoors. You have to be sub 11 or well under sub 11 because there's just a limit to how much you can slow down in the final 40 meters of an outdoor race. So the quicker she gets, you look at the list, those other 9 women on there. Sure, there's some who didn't have huge outdoor seasons or outdoor, career bests, but you get more and more select company.
Yeah, 699 is no joke. There's been countless of women who have run 7.0, in their careers, but 699 is
Yeah.
is a different category, and I do think like I don't know, it's gonna be a perfect way when we see how her outdoor season unfolds,
Mm,
especially if she goes on to win World Indoors. If
yeah.
she runs 699, maybe again, wins World Indoors, and then just becomes like a casual in the Diamond League circuit and not a relevant sprinter to
Mhm.
take on the Jamaicans, I think it's gonna say a lot about the 60-meter event as a whole. It's like, what does this
Mhm.
even mean? Because
Yeah.
there are gonna be times when it works because Coleman and
Yeah,
Jacobs,
exactly.
they're gonna be good in
Yeah.
the 60 and they're still gonna be good in the 100. But if she doesn't translate into being a 10-8 woman, you're gonna be like, all right, because that's what she's gonna need to be in order for her to be as relevant as she is in the 60. She needs to run
Yeah.
10-8, and she's never even broken 10. So it's
11.
gonna be, excuse me, never even broken 11. So
I mean,
it's
she
gonna
you're right.
be
She hasn't broken 10 either.
okay. Yeah, she hasn't broken 10. That's true. Maybe she'll
What
be
do
the
you think is
first.
the new what do you think is the new standard for fast in that event? Because we always lean on 11, but when
It's
Thompson
10-8.
Harrad's running 10.5, would you say 10.8 or 10.9?
10-8. No, 10-9 is not
So
fast. I see
sub 10.8?
10.95, and I'm like, all right, that you need to be running 10.8 to be fast in
Gotcha.
the year of 2022.
Yeah, and then I think about last year, and I think, okay, maybe that's not replicable, and just as the men had all those years where it was super fast and we got used to seeing 9.7s or low 9.8s, and then you had some years where it slowed down a bit. Are we gonna see it slow down for the women? But
Like,
so you're
yeah, when
saying
I say
basically
fat, when yeah,
for her to be
fast
relevant,
to
you're
me is
saying it needs to be 10.8 something for her to be relevant outdoors is what you're saying.
yeah. And my definition
Okay.
of relevant is you can make a world final. I think you need to run 9.8 to be fast in the men. I think 9.8 is what you need to be. I think 9.8 and 10.8 are the tiers of okay, I can make a world final. It's not the tier of I can win. The tier of I can win is definitely going to be 9.7 and like 10.6,
Whatever whatever Thompson Herrera
but
decides to do.
or
Yeah.
just whatever Thompson
Yeah.
Rhett wants to do that day.
So she's gonna need to make a big improvement then. Because yeah, she's north of 11 right now. So going 10.99, unless things slow down dramatically, won't be enough. But there's always one person. There's always one, at least one sprint star who emerges indoors that gets our interest. And on the women's side, you got Swoboda at the top of that list. We'll see if she can finish it though. She's got to go and win this world indoor title, I think, to cement the season. But it should be a fun. That race will be fun too. Yeah, it's missing the star power of Thompson Hurrah and Fraser Price and Richardson, but that one will be good. And then you're right on the men's side. It's funny because you have two of the, as I mentioned before, if they were betting odds right now, they'd be two of the top three to win the gold in Eugene are in it. And on the women's side, it's not that. But they're both interesting, just in different ways.
Yep. Yep.
All
Talk
right.
a little bit about
What else do we got?
what else happened today or this past weekend.
Today, not much, I hope, because I woke up and came into here to record. I mean, Sisson won the 15K, dominated. It's off distance. I'll call it an off distance because it's 9.3 miles. Um, was it Nico Montañez won on the men's side? Rupp ran and then faded towards the end. I don't know if there's too much we can read into that. You and I were arguing at the end of the live show about who would be the person to break, who's the best candidate to break the American record in the marathon. And I said Sisson. Maybe that's recency bias because I literally had just looked at the results from that 15K and I just said her. That's who I'm picking right there, the one on top. No, that's not why I picked her. You said Molly Seidel, I think, correct? Is that what you said?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I did. And I said that because Molly has yet to show any signs of she's been like perfect in every marathon she runs. She's still
Yeah.
super new to it, which is incredible that an Olympic medalist is new to the marathon. But I think I don't think Molly would break it this year or even next year, but I do think Molly would break it in the next 4 years because more and more years under the belt, eventually she'll be like, all right, let's go fast now. And
Yeah.
then we'll be able to see her true ability. Because if you are able to medal at the freaking Olympics, you should be able to run 2:19. That's just what I think. Just what I think.
Just different types of racing though, but
I
it's
know,
more just
but
more
you're beating incredible women in order to medal. So like
yeah.
it's not a world championship marathon where like it's kind of like, all right, you can find a way to medal. Like, no offense to Amy Craig, but like Amy Craig's medal at the world championship is not the same thing as Molly's at the Olympics. And I think that performance can potentially project to at least it being a 2:19
Yeah.
lifetime PB. So
And a lot of it's opportunities. If she just does New York
yeah,
Boston though for a bunch of years, then she'll never get that chance. So part of it is the
exactly.
willing,
Yeah.
wanting to get on those courses, which made me think about Kipchoge, how his next couple years go. Because if we're saying we're going to believe Kipchoge that he's going to go through 24, right? He wants to get the third Olympic gold, wants to make history. So if he does his normal pattern of 2 marathons a year, that would leave fall of 22, spring of 23, fall of 23, and then spring of 24, perhaps, and then the Olympic send off. So max, we're looking at as of five. One we know for sure is the Olympic marathon. So if you go into fall of this year, fall of 22, I'm thinking if he goes New York there, then he goes spring of 23, Boston. He gets the career major. Then he'd have two empty slots there, fall of 23 and then spring of 24. Maybe he returns to London in the spring of 24 as one last, farewell as he gets himself ready. Maybe he skips. I don't know the schedule for 2024 Olympics yet, but maybe he skips the spring one because it's just too tight of a turnaround. But he has at least one, maybe two empty slots there if he's going to end his career in 24. How do you think he uses those?
So how does he use the spring of 24 and the fall of 23?
Or does he do a different pattern than I said? Maybe you have a different feeling on how he runs those races. But I think his next two are gonna be New York and
It
Boston.
makes sense. You just go back and collect another check from Berlin and collect another check from London. Call it a day. I think he'll
Okay, but he
go.
also
I think
told
it's gonna be.
you he also told you he wants to run a marathon on a ship. Where does that fit in?
I don't think he's gonna do that.
Okay.
I think if he does
All
do
right.
that, he'll do that post Olympics where it's just for fun.
Okay.
That's what I think. I think
So
I
if
think
he,
he might start doing like, ambassador running post Olympics where he's now like going for, he did that thing where everyone chased me to qualify for the
yeah,
Paris Marathon.
yeah,
He'll
yeah.
he'll do stuff like that.
Okay, if he does 5 more, that'll have him at 23 career marathons. 2 of them were weird because they were time trials. So you say 21. Of those 21, if he wins out, he'd be uh 19-2 in the marathon.
With his two losses, so his two losses will be a Jeopardy question.
Yeah, where did he lose? Where did he lose his two marathons?
Where did he lose the other
Um
one?
um it was the second marathon of his career. It was Berlin in 2013, wasn't it?
What place did he get?
He got second. He got second to Kipsang in that one. I think he won. Hold on, let me pull it up. He won in Hamburg because he never had this crazy win streak because he won his first one in Hamburg, and then he lost his second one, and I think that was to Kipsang in Berlin. Let me pull it up right now. I should have this memorized. 2013, yeah, Berlin. He ran 2:04:05, and Kipsang ran the world record 2:03:23. And then he didn't lose again until the London race in 2020. I mean, how would you like to see him use these? Like I would be over the moon if we just get New York and Boston because for a while there I never thought it was going to happen. So whatever he does in addition to that is bonus for me.
Yeah, I mean, New York and Boston is the most important. I mean, you would want him to do them twice. I don't know. Like he's already gone to London and Berlin so many times. Just come to New York twice. Come to Boston twice. Live in the U.S. for 2 years. How about that?
Mhm.
That's what I want him to buy a condo. I'm not sure where. Probably, is he going to move to Flagstaff? Maybe he moves to Flagstaff, buys a
Okay.
condo. He can get down to the situation of who's been pooping on the track. Because if Kipchoge's there, everyone's going to follow the rules. They don't want to disappoint Kipchoge. He shows up in
Yeah.
Flag. He becomes an assistant coach at NAU. And then we get to see Kipchoge on the NCAA circuit. He'll just be at the local, he'll be at the Peyton Invite, just holding the stopwatch, watching the fifth Newberry Park kid going to run a sub 13:35K. It's going to be great. That's probably what he's going to do. I want him to move to the States for 2 years. That's what I want. I won't take anything less.
What if he goes like full was it Uncle Drew? Just disguises himself and enters the small town like the Lehigh Valley Marathon
Ooh, that'll be
and
great.
then just sticks with
Or he,
sticks with the leader for
he
22
works in
miles or 26 miles and then just kicks away.
I will disguise him and put him in the Aardvark running store, which is the local running store in my hometown in the Bethlehem, PA area. Uh, and he'll try to prank runner. He'll like help people out with their shoes. It's like imagine
Yeah.
Kipchoge disguising himself as like a running store member. That'd be fun. It's like,
You're right.
what shoes should I use? Well, I like these. These I can run
Plenty
a
of
fast time in.
Plenty of opportunity for comedy in the end of Kipchoge's career. Also, we had American record in the pole vault. Gordon indoors.
We did.
Nilsson. Yeah,
He did.
yeah.
Oh,
We had
how did he
six oh
vault?
five.
Oh, I didn't even.
So
I thought he only jumped like 5'8". Maybe I turned off the stream too early.
no, I,
He jumped
I
605.
six
You
oh
could beat
five in
Mondo.
France. Okay, come on.
I
Mondo's going
mean,
going for 618, 619, 605. He
I
got
know
605.
Mondo's going for 6'8", but like if you can jump 605, vault 605, you can get Mondo on a bad day, 100%. If you're a
Oh,
5'9" guy, no. But if you're a 605 guy, you have a perfect day. He jumps 608, and Mondo just has a bad day and misses. It could happen.
are you saying that Chris Nilsson has a track record of getting Mondo on a bad day? Is that what
He
you're saying?
does. He does. He's really good at it.
Yeah.
So,
Speaking of, yeah,
but
NCAA's 2019. outdoors.
2019
That was
outdoors.
so weird because we all knew Mondo was going to go on and win a ton of like gold medals and break world record. It was just basically inevitable. And then he lost the NCAA championships. I was like, this is just going to be so strange from this point forth in his career. And Chris Nelson is going to he's going to get the best of Mondo every single time because Mondo's not going to forget that ever.
What if like Chris Nilsson is just always gonna be the kryptonite to Mondo, and like every loss that Mondo ever has at a championship level will only be to the Chris Nilsson. It won't always be to Chris Nilsson, but it'll only be to Chris Nilsson.
Do you know how many times Mondo has lost since he lost to Chris Nelson?
Zero
Actually, the
times.
stat is no. This is not that good of a stat. I was going to say. Well, since 2020, he's only lost once, but in 19, after he lost to Nilsson, he had some Diamond League losses, and then he was runner up in Doha. So after that year, after he went fully pro, starting in 2020, it's just one loss. And in the pole vault, it's just like the marathon, hard to stay undefeated in that event. On the college side of things, we got NCAA indoors coming up. We're gonna do a full preview of that too. But um, is there anything that you have your eye on, like early? I know we talked a little bit about the declarations last week. Did we? I don't even remember. I think we talked about some
I
scratches.
talked about it on my NCAA track and field show
Oh yeah,
about the declarations. Um, so if you listen
subscribe,
to that, subscribe,
watch it,
go over there and subscribe, watch it, consume it,
see
embed
Gordon
it
in
into your
vertical
veins.
video.
Vertical
Yep.
video, Gordon. It's a new world. Um, there wasn't any too big surprises. There was a couple of people who scratched because they were hurt, but they weren't going to win a title.
Gotcha.
We do know though. We know that like Nagoose is going all in on DMR 3K, which is what we thought. We won't see
Yeah.
Nagoose in the mile, but we expected that. I was Lauren Ryan, Florida State runner. She scratched the 5K and just going all in on the 3K. That was interesting.
hmm
I believe that's what happened. Let me double check. I don't want to
Well, when I
give
was
out.
in Arkansas, I told both the coaches that your projections and the percent chance that you thought they had in both. So I was able to communicate that effect quickly and efficiently to the head coaches of both teams because it's. I mean, the men we always thought were going to be close, but the women turning into a interesting team race is not what we expected early on in the season. You had
Yeah,
Florida
so
getting all the points.
I did. I had Florida winning all the points, but now Florida's come back a little bit to earth. Florida's still a heavy favorite on the women's side. Arkansas and Texas are the only teams that can beat them. I would probably put more money on Texas beating Florida than Arkansas beating Florida, but Lance Harder, he finds out ways to do his thing. And then on the men's side, Georgia men, they've been in the driver's seat, but they've been like the weakest driver's seat team that I've seen in the past few years. I don't think Georgia's going to win, but I have to say they're going to win because they are in the driver's seat and they got Matthew Bowling and they I just think I don't
Well,
know. I'm not confident in their
nobody in that
41-point
spot.
win. Yeah.
Yeah, but you can say that about everybody. Whoever you put in the driver's seat is in a precarious position because
Yeah,
it's
I could think
41 points.
Arkansas, but Arkansas is relying on kind of weird points, which is a weird thing to say, but it makes
What are
sense
weird
when I say
points?
weird point.
Are those different
I
than
don't
regular
know.
points?
Well, they're relying on like a seventh place finish in the 800. That's a weird point. Seventh place in the 800. That's a weird point. They're
Those are 2
relying on a
points.
lot of long jumps and a couple hurdles. I don't know. It's just a weird. It's not like all in
Mhm.
on we're a sprint heavy 60, 400, 200.
Well,
And
Georgia's
then
what? Bowling, the
NAU's in the top
relay,
four, and they only have two
and the
guys.
multis.
What's that?
Literally 2 guys. Oh, I was gonna say Georgia. What is Georgia? Georgia's bowling, Godwin, the relay, and the multis, right?
Yeah. So that's weird too. That's why they only have 41
When
points.
and what about A&T?
A&T has a lot, but A&T also, like their top 60 hurdler guy, didn't run well at his conference, so that kind of makes me
Mhm,
concerned. He's a true freshman. Um,
mhm.
A&T, they have Randolph Ross. They have a star 400-meter guy, but their long jumper has been not jumping as well, but that's another weird point. I'll call that a weird point. That's similar to getting 7th in the 8 is getting 6th in the long jump. It's a weird thing to
Okay.
do. There's just a lot. I mean, Texas can get scary because they have a lot of bodies, especially in the
Mm-hmm.
mid-distance stuff. Obviously, they have the throwers. They have a sprinter or two. But again, there's the fact that no one can get to 50. If someone wins
Well,
this meet without getting to 50 points, it's going to be weird. And it's going to be so weird that a team like NAU, who only has 2 runners at the meet, Abdi Hamid Nur and Nico Young, they could become the second best track and field team of indoor. 2
mhm.
dudes. Because I think they'll go 1-2 in the 5K. And I think they'll
Yeah.
put 2 guys in the top 4 in the 3K. And that's a lot of points.
I'm waiting for when one person wins indoors. That's what I want.
Yes.
And not even someone who
Oh.
gets a quadruple, someone who just like 20 wins one year. All the
Yeah,
points are
I
spread
mean,
out. 20 wins one year.
I don't want to say like it's gonna be hard because the Goose is in the 3K, and I just think the Goose losing the 3K would be kind of wild. And
Yeah.
Morgan
But
Beatles comes coming off of a mile final, so that's easier to beat him. But like, let's say perfect situation. NAU
okay.
goes 1-2, 1-2. It's 36 points. And in this weird time where Georgia isn't anything confident, Arkansas have getting 33 points. Texas, North Carolina, A&T, they all have question marks. Imagine if they just freaking win it. It'll be
Well,
hilarious.
well, you brought up the like weird points thing, but this thing is going to be won by weird points because if the winning
Yes.
score is 40, it's going to be such and such got they clinched the meet by getting 2 points in the
5th in the
800.
weight throw. Yeah.
It's going to be something strange
Yeah.
like that. Women's score not as much because the point totals are just higher from those, from Florida, Texas, and Arkansas. But that's a lot closer than it was before. And because I was at Arkansas last week, I looked, and a lot of those Arkansas, like you're not overselling Arkansas. So there's room for them to grow in a lot of those events. Like it's not the sunniest forecast for Arkansas too. I'm sure you could say that about Florida and Texas. Um, but that thing could get really interesting. Florida, I think, though, has the blowout potential. They still have that. Do you agree?
Yeah, Florida always shows up. Even though they're ranked 8th, they're going to, find a way to get to finish 3rd, and they'll tweet at me, never doubt us. And I'll be like, yep, you're right again. It's not a year without Florida being doubted by Gordon and then them showing up and doing well.
Wait, so you're
Here's
picking
a
them for
fun.
third? Just I want to get you on the record. You're picking Florida women to get third. Is that right? Did I hear that?
No, I'm talking about the men. The men.
I was just
The
kidding.
women, I
Yeah,
think, are
no,
going
I'm
to
talking about
win. The women are going to win. Oh, okay.
that's what I'm saying. I said the women have blowout potential. Like of
Oh,
those
okay.
3 teams, there's one. I think of those three
Yes.
teams, there's one who can run away with it, and it's Florida.
Yes.
The other two can
Yeah.
win, but if they win, it's going to be close.
Yeah. Florida will blow out. I'm predicting that. Here's one fun thing. Here's a fun fact for you. How many? This would be a good prop that we can do next on Wednesday. Men's 60. How many SEC schools do you think are going to make the final?
In the men's 60,
Athletes from the don't look up. Just go off the top of your head. So 8 total can make it if it's all SEC. Stop. You're looking at results. Don't stop. You're looking at T1st.
I'm not
Stop it.
looking at
You're cheating.
results. I'm not looking at
What are you
results.
looking at? Don't look
I'm
at my
looking at
rankings
the
either. You're cheating.
the web. I'm not looking at your rankings. That would make it worse. I mean, the Tennessee kid, Ash, has been really fast this year. Uh, Bowling. I mean, but see, I feel
Basically, the
really good
point
about
is
Makai Williams.
SEC. Yeah,
I'll
the
go.
whole point of
I'll
this is
go
that
4. 4.
yeah, I think it's gonna be less than 4 because you have the Oregon Makai Williams, you have the Indiana kid Brathwaite who's running well, Louisville
Yeah.
kid Warner Savage, USC Sean James. Obviously, you have the Tennessee and Georgia and Bowling and Ash. Then you have Terrence Jones, Texas Tech, DeAndre Swint, Florida State. It could be
Did
kind of
he
weird to
run?
like only see one or two SEC sprinters in that 60 final. I just think that was kind of wild.
So Jones didn't run Big 12s. So we haven't seen
Correct.
Jones run a 60 since that race in the middle of January.
Yep.
So
That's why I'm not going to pick him to get top two.
I
I think
I
he'd still
would
make a final, though.
I think the final might be. I mean, didn't run his conference meet. I mean, there's got to be
Yeah,
some
he's
issue if
saving
you're
it
not
up.
running the conference meet. He's
I think he
he's
can make
waiting.
it to the final and then fall apart in the final. Like, I think he gets to the final and finishes like in the bottom two.
You haven't even seen him though. We haven't seen him. He ran a 4x4 once since that race.
I know we haven't
That's it.
seen him, but like, he still
He didn't
ran
run.
the fastest
He
time.
DNF'd the he DNF'd the 200 in the middle of February, and
I
then
know.
didn't run his conference meet.
That's why he's going to finish seventh. He's going to finish seventh.
I
I think
I
that's
would
a fair place to put him.
4 SEC schools are in there. Book it.
No, two.
Don't ask me which ones though. Don't ask me. Two?
Two SEC
Two?
schools.
All right.
Two. Okay.
Let's go to the chat. Gordon. The name is pronounced Bratwaite.
Bratwaite. Okay, good to know because I'll probably be saying his name to his face when I interview him. So it's good to get that right. Yeah, those are my rankings up there. Bratwaite coming in second behind Williams. I'm very confident. I was like, I looked at it. I was like, I like this order that I'm picking. I like the order.
Sorry, we lost people there for a moment. Apologies for the technical hiccup. But I think we wrote an article or did an analysis with Holloway that year because when he started running the 62, and we're thinking 60, 60 hurdles, long jump. He had run a fast 200 that year as well indoors. And then we obviously knew
Yeah.
his 400 split. Now, you can't run all those events just because of time constraints. But if the meet was more spread out and if you were able to find out who the best in the country was in every single event without the limits of doing it in a condensed time period, you had a really strong argument that Holloway would score a ton of would finish highly in 5 events, not even including the relays. He ultimately ended up doing long jump, 60 hurdles, 60, and then 4x4. So he did a ton of stuff. He did a ton of stuff, but he was also really good that year in the 2. And I think everybody's always known that he's an amazing 400-meter runner. He just doesn't have many opportunities to run it, especially now.
All right. Well, we're going to break down the NCAAs all day on Wednesday. We'll have some great prop predictions for you guys to make. Try to win some free stuff. We'll figure out who won the Tokyo bets on Saturday. We'll announce that on Wednesday. It's going to be great. Kevin, I'm just going to leave it with this question. Gun to your head. Who is winning the men's 3K?
Nagoose.
Okay.
Is that a trick question?
No, there was no trick question. I was just trying to think of an
Okay.
event to pick, and I picked a question. I picked an event that you already had a good answer for, and now I just feel stupid because now the gun really wasn't threatening.
Put it on the board. Put it on the board.
Already had an answer.
Yeah, that's a bad. Okay, let me try it. Let me do it this way. Who's winning the men's team competition?
Oh, that's a good gun to the head. Gun to head men's team competition. I'm gonna pick Texas. Hometown team. Go Longhorns. UT. Gun to your
All right,
head.
we'll do more official.
What's gun to your head, men's team? Three,
Ah,
2, 1, bang.
A and T.
A and T. UT and A and T. I like it. That's what's going to happen.
Here's the thing.
They're going 1-2.
Here, I don't want to drag this on too long, but here's the way I'm thinking about it, and we'll talk about this more on Wednesday, more on Friday. With the point totals that low, necessary to win, how many people have points that are close to locks? And I know nothing is a lock. So,
Yeah,
because
A and T and Randall Frost. Yeah.
having a bunch of 50% chances is not the way you want to go into this meet. I feel like you want to go in with a couple 90% chances. Randolph Ross is like, I think he's 10 points.
Yeah.
Now, is there 4 by
That's why
4 10 points?
no.
Nah, not quite. Not quite. But it's close, right? So who has the most like guaranteed points, would you say? Like, does Texas have people that you're really confident in, like penciling in right now 10 points for?
The dude got a good shot putter, Pippery.
Yeah.
And that's about it for most confident. And then Georgia, their most confident is Matthew Bowling in the 200. So everyone has like a